I created a school back in NCAA Football 14, and today I've brought it over to College Football 25, where I'll be rebuilding Grand Rapids until we win a championship. The nostalgia is already kicking in for me, and based out of Michigan, we have rivals Eastern, Central, and Western Michigan all in our conference. I genuinely forgot how bad this team was at the start of the rebuild though. If you remember the name Terrence Dogan, he's our starting quarterback, but he's also only a 56 overall. So I've had to start searching for more viable options at that position. Now when I filmed this series, I had to recruit in Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana only until we won a bowl game. And those recruits from those said states could only be a 3-star or lower. That is the same challenge and restriction we'll be faced with in this rebuild. As you can see, we're starting to fill up the board, but we do have one player that insta-committed. I want to say that Nick Thrasher could be our Ben Fowler at halfback of this rebuild. He has 94 speed, and I think he's going to be amazing in season number 2. There's a lot of things to be excited about with this Mastodon team, but not one of our first opponents. We have to play rivals Michigan. And our out-of-conference schedule is absolutely brutal. We have rivals Michigan State on there as well, so I am very thankful that we play in the MAC conference. Again, I will be taking this team over from Grand Rapids, Michigan until we win a championship in this video. And even if we have really struggled in this first half, it's been nice to get to play with them again. Of course, I don't appreciate our starting running back, Braden Nico. He's a senior. He's already pulled his hamstring. But I don't think we would have had much offensive success either way. I'm just going to throw this ball up to Matt Land, and he's able to go up and grab it. That is what we needed out of him. If you watch this series, you'd know that he's a legend. But this entire drive has stopped well short of the end zone, and it's because of our offensive line. We ended up not scoring a single point against the Wolverines. They took us down 41-0. And at the moment, we are the worst team in Michigan. I think we should compete though with how long this rebuild takes versus what happened in the real series. If you don't want any spoilers, skip over this part. But in the NCAA Football 14 series, it took us 8 years to win a championship, so we're going to try to do it faster than that. Again, we're starting from the absolute bottom, so I'm not sure if we're going to be able to pull it off. But I've brought back some stars from the series like Matt Land. He's only a sophomore, and his speed is the exact same as it was in NCAA Football 14. I am looking at more offensive weapons for this team to get in though. We obviously already have one halfback committed. I'd like to have a second. There's a couple of receivers I'd also want to bring in. And while Alex Hunley has 96 acceleration plus takeoff, I think the better option is Ben Rossi because he's physical, 6'3", and he's going to jump for balls. Then at quarterback, Tyler Priester. I'm not quite sure if I'd want to start him. He's a bust, but his stats off the rip are going to be solid. But there's also the chance that we just let sophomore Zach Keys get into the game and start to go to work. I mean, his accuracies can still improve. I don't have very high expectations for this team in the first season. We're about to play another rival, Michigan State, after still scoring 0 points. And I think we should just advance until we can play some of our conference in-state rivals because those are also big games. Now, as much as I'm not a fan of Tyler Priester at quarterback because he's a bust, his stats are too good to ignore, so we're going to pursue him heavily. We're going to schedule him for a visit where playing time matters. And it clearly ended up paying off because we signed him alongside most of these other 3-stars we pursued, but there is a problem. As we get down here, you'll see one of these receivers doesn't necessarily want to come to Grand Rapids. And then Deshaun was another option I wanted to have at quarterback, but instead he's going to consider our rival Central Michigan. This won't be the first time they steal somebody from us, but I am finding a couple of gems. And just taking a look through our coaching staff, I think I need to go down this recruiter tree because at the moment, the only position we can scout faster is running backs. Until we level up a bunch, it's going to be a pretty difficult rebuild. But just to make sure we don't level up too fast, I've put our coach XP setting on slowest. Checking in on how we've done the rest of the season, there's one game that was much closer than the rest. It was against Kent State. They went 0-12 this year in real life. And I'm pretty sure that we lost this one in overtime off of a missed extra point. I think our team needs a little bit of a spark, so we're going to bench Terrence Dogan. We're going to start Zach Keys at quarterback instead. This is his chance to shine in MAC conference play. At the moment, we are sitting at the bottom of our division. I have good news though. Other teams from our state, our in-state rivals, are also struggling, so this could be our first win or Eastern Michigan's. The weather at the factory isn't looking the best, and neither of these teams are very impressive, but I think we could take them down. Anytime we want to get a win though, we're going to have to fight hard for it, and we're just not beating their man coverage well. They're getting an interception. I didn't even see that kid there. A throw like that though is how you know that you're watching the Bordeaux channel. And all I'm going to say is I remember both Matt Land and Zach Keys being a lot better for us than they have been in this game. I might be at fault for trying to throw up a 50-50 ball to a 5'9" receiver, but hear me out. I was just desperate. We got embarrassed by one of our in-state rivals who hadn't won a game all season. There's one thing that we haven't done yet this season though, and that's play a home game at Hulu Field. Now, because I have zero control in College Football 25 Team Builder on how we can upgrade our stadium throughout this, we have to start in a bigger one, unfortunately. But Central Michigan's quarterbacks had a terrible year, so maybe we can get a win. Once we started off this game down 28-0 though, pretty much all my hope just went out the window. It has really been a struggle to move the ball with this team, though that's cover 2 and it's not a good enough pass. These quarterbacks are simply just not good enough. I know it's our first season as a football program, but I wanted us to play a little bit better. I think we're going to be stuck going after some 2-star recruits just to fill up this receiving room. And since we have such a limited pool of players that we can choose from, we're also going to have to get some 1-star linemen for our team. Just looking at some of these other results, I'm not sure there's a single positive to take away from this season, though we do have one more game against Western Michigan, one more chance to beat a rival. Also, if you want to use this team for yourself, I will put a link to it in the description. And when it comes to a potential team builder series like this one in the future, there's always a chance it could happen. I'm considering it again. These are the videos I enjoy the most. I love filming them. We're going to see if we can get open right here. What was that? I'm trying to come back from down 14 and our best receiver, Matt Land's looking like a ballerina. I think I've just accepted this first season is going to result in an 0-12 year. I'm going to throw up one final ball to him and he just can't grab it. That was a rough way for a new program to perform, but we still have to have time to get better players in. And I think it's time for head coach Andrew Luck to make his first huge decision. I mean, clearly something's not going right. We're not even winning these battles for 2-star receivers. And we finished all the way at the bottom of our conference, below all of our rivals from the state. So it's only right that we get some new coordinators in here, and we're gonna fire both of these guys. Kevin Jennings ended up winning the Heisman Trophy for SMU, and my hope is one day one of these guys that we have signed can help us take that home here at Grand Rapids. I'm looking through the dev traits at the moment. All I am seeing is impact and normal. That's about expected. But I was hopeful even as a bust, Tyler Priester would have at least impact. That did not happen. And for the final player, the best one, the gym, Nick Thrasher, he's star dev. He's also from Grand Rapids. Since he's a local talent, fast and 5'9", I think I have to name him Ben Fowler. And who we bring in as our coordinators is very important. I think I want to give Richard Sykes a shot. I've never had somebody that's a strategist. I think if we pair that with Paul, we're going to be in a pretty good spot. This guy's both a recruiter and a tactician. So I'm hoping that's good for our long-term outlook and we can win a championship like USC just did. Now, I have avoided looking at these season stats. I didn't want to see how bad it was, but Terrence Dogan threw 1 touchdown for 8 picks. The same ratio goes for Zach Keys. And then, of course, Braden Nico had injury issues, but whenever he was on the field, he averaged the most yards per carry. Matt Land was not our best receiver, though. It was actually Zach Archie, the junior. He had 553 yards. And I think I want to forget everything from this season. I'm okay with these players transferring out, though I wish Braden Nico didn't have to graduate. The transfer portal could have actually been pretty useful to us, but remember, we can only recruit from Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio until we win a bowl game, so that leaves just one transfer that's a 1-star. That means I've had to look at some other prospects we can target, and I have found a gym at quarterback with Tavita B. This could actually be our starter. He is 88 speed. Whenever it comes to our 2 hires at coordinator, they are going to help us out in recruiting. As you can see, both of them have these interesting impacts on players. Even down here in this tier, I never go down here. We have this boost. And then taking a look at the strategist tree, it seems like our visits are going to have bigger impacts, but I don't think I'd ever go down here unless it was for our coordinator. Those guys might not have been the best hires though. Central Michigan just ripped this 3-star away from us that I thought was a lock for Grand Rapids. At the end of the day though, I think we have filled up the needs that we had with our depth because as you can see, we signed a bunch of 1-stars. We brought in Tavita B. He has impact dev. And with a class of 28 players, we have the 6th best class in our conference. I don't think that's terrible for our first season as a program. As you can see, we're recruiting inside the 3 states. Nick Thrasher though, aka Ben Fowler in the future, what position does he play best? It's not running back, and I still think we should probably put him there. Then we have the 2 freshmen at quarterback, Tyler Priester and Tavita B. Tyler might be a higher overall, but I don't think he'll be for the rest of his career. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of difficult decisions to make throughout this rebuild, but looking at these training results, I'm actually pretty happy with how they've gone. Of course, on the offensive side of things, I'm not sure how many of these players are actually going to start for us versus the new freshmen that we just brought in. But we saw some big improvements defensively, and we have 60 coach points to spend. I've now made sure that for every position, we have both Tier 1 and Tier 2 unlocked. That's going to be pretty useful. And then I'm going to use the remaining 15 points to get Motivator Tier 3 with our quarterbacks so they progress a little bit better. Now, I can safely say I'm excited to use Ben Fowler II. He has a spot on quickness that could still improve. His physical abilities also look super good. And then when it comes to quarterback, skill caps are super important where Tavita B can get his accuracy all the way up to almost max. This team might not find success in our first few games, but I'm hoping by the time we get down to some of our conference rivals, we could end up beating at least one program. And I wish I could say we don't have to worry about stuff like quarterback, halfback, wide receiver, but there's clearly a lot of team needs in those spots still, and we pretty much have to fill up almost every position. We have 43 team needs. I am sad to say that 2 of the 4 gyms I found as 3 stars as well have locked us out before I can even put any hours on them. I was super excited. I found this cornerback with 96 speed. I found this receiver with 94 speed, but we have been locked out instantly, so there was no purpose to scouting them. I mean, we still have 2 gems on our board, but they're just not that exciting. It's a left outside linebacker, and then it's a running back where we already have one that was good. This class is actually set up to be pretty disappointing. Even some of the receivers we're going after aren't the best, but I have no choice because we're supposed to sign at least 6 of them. All of a sudden, it's going to be a rough year for the Mastodons, but we still have that one goal of just winning 1 game. Now, because I enjoyed this Grand Rapids series so much, I'm not going to limit myself on how many games I can hop into in a season in this rebuild. I want to use players like Ben Fowler. I'm simply just going to enjoy this team. We've had a little bit of success versus the Wolverines with some of these freshmen, but the real question is, are we going to be able to keep it up? And I'm hoping that we can complete it. Even in our home stadium, we aren't necessarily playing the best. But to be fair, the Wolverines are a tough opponent, and upsetting them would shock the world. Now, you might notice Tyler Priester is out there in the 4th quarter. That's because we're already dealing with injuries. And that's never a great thing, but Ben Fowler gets his first touchdown. At the moment, with a torn labrum, we have no idea how long Tavita B is going to be out. But what I do know is I believe in a comeback. I believe in an upset. And what is this kid's last name that I'm using? How did he get that? I'm not sure how I never noticed it before. Michigan hits the field goal. And Tyler Priester has a long way to go if we're going to come back in this game. We couldn't even get it to Steve Winchester. Here we go, 4th and 12. I'm hoping that we can at least get a throw out. I feel like that could be placed well, except they just jumped up and grabbed it. I mean, he wasn't even looking at the ball. He just knew. It's okay. We're going to be sad. We're going to go through all these years of struggle, but the seasons that we can actually beat Michigan, it's going to mean so much more. Ideally, Jaden Davis won't stick around for long because at the moment, he's only a sophomore. And in the original series, Michigan State was an even bigger rival than Michigan because they're closer to Grand Rapids, so maybe we can win this one. All I'm going to say is don't count us out of this game yet. We're only down by 5 with a few minutes left. Ideally, we can just hand it off to Ben Fowler for the rest of this and they won't stop us. But they're starting to bring some more players down into the box and he is going to make it 3rd and 1. We're basically just leaning on him at the moment. Little halfback toss, fake out the defense, get to the outside, and that is going to help. Eventually, though, he's going to get tired, so we're going to have to throw the ball. And there was no chance we were making a read in time right there. Steve Winchester gets 0 separation. Michigan State's probably going to be able to run out the rest of the clock as well. We just keep giving them first downs. And we came so close to getting our first win against the Spartans, but it's not going to happen this year. I think that should be the expectation, though. Like, I have no reason to believe we would beat Ohio State. Apparently, once we get to conference play, things aren't going to go any better for us either, as we've lost our first 3 games. But you see who's on the schedule next. It's Eastern Michigan, and they're just 7 overalls better than us. Our division in the MAC has been absolutely terrible. There is one team above 500. On the other side, there's at least a few. And I'm not quite sure why these 3 stars continue to sign with us, knowing that they're not going to have much success. This one chose Buffalo. All I can say is I am shocked we have a 7-point lead on Eastern Michigan with about 2 minutes left, though they're driving down the field, they're throwing us off of them. And it is time that we step up, though they're going to have a touchdown. The stands are so empty as well. It's kind of embarrassing. But I don't think we can expect a lot of people to want to come to these games unless we start winning. It's impressive we're even doing this well in the first place because the torn labrum has hurt us once again. Ben Fowler is out with it. And Tyler Priester is still out there on the field. He's been our quarterback instead of the other guy. I think Tavita B will be fully healthy next week, but if we win this game against Eastern Michigan, I think we got to keep starting Tyler. I mean, at the moment, it seems like we're going to be in a pretty decent spot, but that sack changes everything a little bit more, and Matt Land is getting no separation. It is now 3rd and 16. They're getting in pressure, but Tyler Priester is able to escape it, and he's getting us close. You know what? They said that we're out of field goal range, but we can go for this on 4th and 2. Our lineman just messed everything up. He got in the way of that pitch. They're picking this football up. We can't let them win the game like this. I love running the speed option so much, but I have never seen that happen before. If their kicker can hit from here, which it seems like he can, we've just lost this game. Even worse, they're taking it in for a touchdown. And I can't even act surprised that I found a way to blow this game. Hang on. We beat the press on the right side. Will we catch it? We do. I might just throw it up to Martin Massey again. I mean, that was an impressive play. We got to laser it in. This is a really hard spot to be in. I'm waiting for him to get open over the middle. He dropped it. No, he dropped it. It was sitting in his lap for a second. I thought he was going to bring it in. This has been a painful enough season to where I think I've just seen enough. We were never going to beat Central Michigan. They put up 38 against us. Looking at the rest of our schedule, Northern Illinois is 1-7. And that could be the game for us to hop into so we don't finish in last place in our division. I'm really upset that we're going to be without Ben Fowler II, though. He was having a good season whenever he was healthy. And taking a look at our current recruiting board, you're not going to see anybody on here that I'm too excited about, but I think we're going to get some more 3-stars. We literally have 43 team needs. It's impossible for us to fill every single one. And I can promise you, if we end up scoring on this drive, it is going to be the final drive of the game. We're going to have to go for the 2-point conversion. There's about a minute left on the clock. We're down by 7. We're going to throw it away. I brought back Grand Rapids to College Football 25 for moments like this, so we could clutch up and hopefully get our first win of this rebuild. On 3rd and 1, I have 4 verticals out there. I'm going to see if anything's open. If not, we're going to take her underneath. Now we're at the red zone. It's also pretty important to keep in mind, we do still have all 3 of our timeouts left, and we're going to get out of bounds on this play. Even if Ben Fowler II is injured, I think Wildcat could be a good formation for us. Grant is going to get all the way to the 8. And I kind of want to see if Tavita B can just take a quarterback draw up the middle. We'll see where the blocks line up. We're a little bit closer. I still have no idea what we do for the 2-point conversion. Matt Land is going to catch it, and he gets in. We have an opportunity to get the Mastodons the first win of the year. And of course, the first win of the rebuild. I think we're going to run the exact same playback. It's what got him open. We just need him to catch this ball. He's short, but he fights his way in. The drive has been completed. They have one chance to throw up a Hail Mary. They're trying to run a 5-second play, but it doesn't get them enough. If we can just hold on right here, we have won our first game. We're going to get the interception with Holland, and we got to taunt them a little bit too. We can celebrate our way in or just take the touchdown. We might have a long way to go when it comes to rebuilding Grand Rapids, but this was a beautiful way for us to get our first win. Tavita B had 182 passing yards. I know, it's not the best, but we got what I wanted, and when we sim the rest of the season, we also beat Toledo, who went 9-3, so I have no idea how we won that. This is a little bit of forward progress for the Mastodons at least. We finished above Northern Illinois in the conference division standings, and I'm not sure why this committed screen never pops up, but when it does, it's always somebody decent. So far in this dynasty, the non-traditional powerhouses have been winning stuff like the Heisman Trophy. Maddox Madsen takes this, and that gives me some hope, plus the fact that by early National Signing Day, we've been able to bring in 15 3-stars from the states of Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan. When scrolling through the dev traits, there were 3-star devs, but Stephen Weatherford, the wide receiver, is the one that stands out. The others are on defense, and that's pretty big. Our wide receiver room's going to need some help, though Matt Land led the team as a junior, and he has 1 more season in him. As for the quarterback side of things, Tavita B looked better than Tyler Priester whenever he was out there on the field. He had more touchdowns than interceptions. And then Ben Fowler II only averaged 3.6 yards per carry. Nothing too exciting happened, but that pretty much is a given at this point in the dynasty. We're just getting ready to start season 3. There's actually quite a few starters that are graduating. And hang on now, the transfer portal might be wide open for us. We just got to check some of the states we can recruit in, like Indiana, where nobody wants to come to Grand Rapids. Michigan is not much different. There's 1 fullback that would consider our school. I'm not sure I even want to bring him in. And then from Ohio, we have nobody once again that wants to come to Grand Rapids. It might not be the most interesting transfer portal period, but we did get an insta commit on a 3-star center. I found some other prospects for us to go after, and I simply have one hope that by the end of these 4 weeks, we have signed all 27 targets on our board. Did that end up happening? Of course not. There were some prospects that we were never going to bring in. You can't get everybody, but we did get 26, and that is enough to get us the #1 class in our conference. But remember, if we want to go after a bigger target pool of players, we have to be able to win a bowl game. That's our next big goal, and I don't think it's going to happen this season, even though we're up to a 77 overall. Players like Ben Fowler II jumped up to an 80. You love to see it. But I do at least think we're set to have a better season, maybe 4 or 5 wins, and Matt Land's not our #1 receiver. It's actually Jeremiah Butt. A lot of our higher overall players are guys that I've recruited, so I'm excited to see we have 35 freshmen, 19 sophomores, and then 5 juniors, 7 seniors. We're not going to lose many dudes over the next 2 years. We just have to find more players to convince to come to Grand Rapids, and even some of these 3-stars have us as their #1 school. That allowed us to get an insta commit just by offering out a scholarship. Looking at the rest of our board, you're going to see a quarterback on there, you're going to see some corners, receivers. I'm excited for it all. First off, we're just developing halfback talent over time. This kid is 81 trucking, 89 speed, not the best, but this corner is a gym, has 94 speed. Then at wide receiver, we have Kyle Toon. He would have silver takeoff. I'm hoping that we can get him. Also this gym at defensive tackle and just more fast corners. The final final player, though, is a quarterback, Ben Johnson. He's a field general. This isn't my typical build I'd go after, but he is gold field general off the rip, and I'm hoping his skill caps aren't too bad. Those are the players I care about in this class, and we're just going to get by this Michigan game. I accidentally had Tyler Priester starting for this one. He threw 3 interceptions. We lost by 38 points, and I've just realized that we're not going to be good enough to compete with the Wolverines yet. Michigan State might be a different story, though. They're just an 80 overall, which is only a few more than we are. We also have the home field advantage, so I was feeling pretty good about this one, but as you can see, a couple minutes remaining, we're down by 3 possessions. And I'm still going to do my best to come back from this point, but I just don't think we're beating Michigan State. Like, how on earth is that an interception? I want you to keep in mind, I threw the ball at this moment. Somehow they caught up. And that cannot go down as a typical Bordeaux read. It was open, and we just got very unlucky. We're simply just going to start this season 0-3. But I have to look ahead to games that we could potentially win, and I might just sim straight to the ones against our rivals again. Those are the ones that I value. These other MAC opponents, we don't necessarily need to play until we're in the running for a conference championship. And that's going to be a little bit, considering we're just starting to get more 3-stars to come to Grand Rapids. I think Michigan might even try and steal this gym, but it could also be too late for them. And as you can see, going into this game against Eastern Michigan, we're 1-5. We lost by a lot to Bowling Green, by a lot to Ball State, but against Buffalo, we somehow won by 8. It was a 3-touchdown game for Ben Fowler, so we can just disregard this fumble. As long as we're getting the right results, I don't care what he does. It's not enough for us to get off the bottom of our division in the MAC, though, so we have some work to do. And a game as important as this one has a special sponsor, DoorDash, who's also the sponsor of today's video. I've been unlucky this month. I've caught a fever multiple times, but thankfully I've had DoorDash to use during that time frame. Any needs that I've had, I've been able to find on their app. And it's remarkable that we live in a world where you can get anything that you need right to your door. If you want it, DoorDash can deliver it. And whenever I get hungry, there's so many options for me to choose between. I'm a map guy, so I like to be able to see what's around me, but barbecue is always going to be my go-to, and whenever you submit an order on the app, it'll tell you how quickly it's going to get to your place. DoorDash's retail and grocery sections have been a lifesaver for whenever I'm too sick to go anywhere, and I was already very familiar with it because I use DoorDash whether I'm sick or not, since you simply can't go wrong with it. DoorDash is your door to more, so download the DoorDash app now to get almost anything delivered. If you use code BOARD2024, you'll get 50% off up to $10 on your first order of $15 or more, and it's a limited time offer, so make sure you take advantage of it. But now we can return to the rest of this video. Getting the first touchdown can be very important. Matt Land is going to make the catch. He's going to make a couple guys miss, and it's about time he makes a difference. We're just going to hand this one off and should take it in. I think the guys we have are going to set us up nicely for a couple seasons, but we have to be able to finish off some of these games, and right here on the goal line, they have to throw it away. If our offense can carry us to a bowl and then we win one eventually, we are going to be able to get whoever we want. But that takes winning 6 games in the first place. On the 2-point conversion, they shouldn't have anywhere to go. We just got to send someone at their quarterback. This has now turned into the Ben Fowler special. How can we make sure they don't get the ball again? At the moment, he is only averaging about 4 yards per carry. We have sent it backwards on this play, and there's no way that he can save this. I don't care how good he is. Well, that was unfortunate, but we could have gotten to that ball and just ended the game. I thought I had just baited the computer into an interception. Maybe we can still do that, though our flats are just not covering anything. It kind of makes sense. I mean, the guys we have out there on the field don't have great coverage stats, but that means we've just blown our lead versus Eastern Michigan and we had to stop them. All right, my hope is they're gonna run something like man-to-man. We could have had Matt Land deep, but the offensive line is not holding up very well at the moment. Right here could be a great throw. It's off target. We still caught it. Tavita B might not be the best quarterback, but we also have to have our receivers get open for him to hit him, and that's what we've done right here. The game is even saying that we're in field goal range. We can settle for a field goal from this spot, and I think we're just going to have to trust our freshman kicker. Here we go. With a chance to beat our in-state rivals on the road, we are going to drill it down the middle, and that's exactly how you handle a tight one like that. We might even go on to make it to a bowl. All we have to do is avoid losing the rest of the season. At the moment, we're playing undefeated in conference play Central Michigan, and one thing I've been able to pick up on is we are struggling to score until now. After not being able to recover the onside kick, I know that they're going to be able to run the clock down, but I thought we'd at least get them off the field. I was going to go for a huge comeback, but it's another game that we're simply not winning. Now, one thing I've picked up on in recruiting is we hard sell on a couple players, but most of these 3-stars we're not even having to compete for. And so it really just becomes a race to get to these guys first, because if we don't get to them first, that's when they might sign with another school. I thought with our school grades being as terrible as they are, we'd have a ton of trouble whenever it came to getting players, but we really haven't. Also, our academic prestige might be number 3 in the country. But that's only because with team builder schools in this game, I have to choose a school in the game to actually replace. It couldn't be a school from Michigan, it couldn't be a school from the MAC because we play those opponents, so it was Northwestern. We still have a good proximity to home, but we're also forced to play Illinois at the end of every year. That is why that game will always be locked into our schedule. I think EA needs to do better with team builder in college football 26. We ended up losing to NIU 31-13, so pretty much any hope of making a bowl in season number 3 is out the window. I thought maybe as a 77 overall, we'd have a better season than last year, but that wasn't the case. We went 2-10 again. I know that at the moment, we are not on pace to win a championship by year number 8, which was our goal from the start, so we're gonna see how we can make up for it in coming seasons. I am a fan of the star dev on both Brian Garnez and Kyle Toon. Those are good signs for our future. But there's a reason this season kinda just flew by. I mean, Tavita B had 13 touchdowns to 17 picks. He also had more carries and almost as many rushing yards as Ben Fowler II, so we're gonna have to switch up our playbook a bit. On the receiving end, you're gonna see a lot of sophomores and freshmen, but Matt Land, the senior at the top, just played his final year for Grand Rapids. He never got to make it to a bowl game. He certainly never got to make it to the playoffs, where Colorado won it all. And by the way, Malachi Nelson, another Boise State quarterback, won the Heisman. I'm really hoping we can also get that done in this video. I'm not too upset about anybody leaving besides Matt Land, and this transfer can go. Here in the portal, there are 2 players that we can go after. That's it. They're both on the offensive line. And we had no issues getting both of them to sign alongside this punter, but this kicker decided he'd rather play for Purdue. That's fine with me, but Central Michigan, who also finished inside the top 25, had a top 50 class, the best one in the conference. We underperformed. And I think the main reason for that is I wasn't going to force myself to sign 33 stars in this class. I didn't want to get too many players on this roster. That's when things can get super confusing, but we have an athlete named Duke, and we're going to put him at halfback because he has the same first and last name. I'm hoping that after Ben Fowler graduates, he can just pass the torch along to this kid. And you might be wondering what happened to Jim Brian Garnez, but he would only be a 63 overall running back, so instead I've put him as a left end. He probably won't be seeing the field since we have 2 rushers that are our highest overall players on this team. I mean, looking at all the player progression, we're up to an 82 overall. And I thought this would be the year that Tyler Priester got jumped by Tavita B, but it still hasn't happened. By this point in the rebuild, we could probably start to use some red shirts. I feel like we haven't redshirted that many guys. And we finally only have 14 team needs. We have 5 seniors that are going to leave this roster, so pretty much everybody on this team is going to return back for another season. That is very exciting because even if we can't make a bowl game with this current schedule, I know that we probably can the season after. And it's probably time to start searching for a replacement for Tavita B since he's already a junior and his accuracy is like one of the only things that just isn't improving. I think that Doug could be our solution. As a freshman, he's going to have Silver Magician, Silver Field General, and he's also going to be quick with some decent throwing stats. So I've made it my mission to not only get an insta commit on this receiver, but to go after a few more and also a tight end so he has like unlimited targets to throw to. That's really all there is to see with recruiting, but I feel like we should be able to win at Michigan State. This is the best roster that we have had yet doing the Grand Rapids rebuild. I mean, the stands are completely full for this game. But through 3 quarters, we have decided to come out and only score 6 points against the Spartans. Even worse, they're intercepting this ball here. They're going to return it. I've seen enough. I don't understand that as this team gets better on paper, we somehow get worse on the field. I mean, we just got destroyed. And I was hoping that we could make a bowl game, but I know that number 3 Michigan's also going to beat us. The good news is to follow up our 44-3 loss, we were able to beat the UGF Pandas 52-7. And Tavita B looked like he was a new man, but to be fair, he was playing against an FCS school. I want this winning streak to continue though, so I think it's only fair that we hop into this game at Akron. And unless this team has LeBron James himself on the field for them, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to take down the Zips. It turns out that we simply have not played that well though. We can't even do a halfback screen. And that's why after getting an interception, I'm not sure we're even gonna pass it for the rest of this drive. Now, I think we've hit the point in the video where retention isn't as important. You all are gonna stay if you are gonna stay no matter what. We get in with Ben Fowler. But my main point is going to be I have made a great mistake. I'm not sure who thought it was a good idea to invent sugar-free gummies, but I'm convinced they should be illegal. They have done irreversible damage to my body in like the last 24 hours, so I am going through it at the moment. And if you've never had that unfortunate experience, the best way I would sum it up is if you had like 3 meals at Chipotle and Taco Bell in the same night. Let me tell you, it has been a while since I've last cried. I shed some tears. I don't know what I can and cannot say on YouTube, but I think that is important life advice. I wish I had known it Do not touch the sugar-free candy. Just watch us have some success. I think we're doing a fantastic job on this drive. We've been moving it down the field. Our tight end is open, and we're down at the 2. I also really like these red numbers on the white jerseys. I know that we didn't have that in the original series. When I had this team created, there were a couple alternate jerseys put in there. They made a bad read on 3rd down, or mainly just a bad pass. He was open, and we've shot through the hole, but we can't penetrate fast enough. This is a huge moment for the Mastodons. I would much rather be 2-2 versus 1-3. And we're just gonna keep on putting it in the hands of Butt as he takes us to field goal range. You know who's also having himself a game? Ben Fowler. He is over 100 rushing yards. He needs to help us pick up this 3rd and 4. And I've decided I'm not kicking a field goal here. I'd much rather go for it and run out the rest of the clock. That decision would have looked very stupid if it didn't work, but instead I look like a genius. And all we have to do is put this kick through the uprights, which we've done. I'm not sure why Clemson's mascot is at this game in Akron, or he's celebrating for us, but I guess he's happy for the winning team. He has found a new program to join that actually uses the transfer portal. But I will say, shout out to Dabo Sweeney. I saw on Twitter that he actually got a player through the portal this year. I'm hoping we can do the same in this rebuild if anybody good ever becomes available. As you can see, we've already picked up multiple targets for Doug. We just need him to sign in the next week or 2. And I want to say that we should be comfortable simming against a team like Bowling Green, but they're the same overall. I think we've officially made some progress though. We took down the 1-4 team by 5 points. And we literally have to win 3 more games to make it to a bowl this season, but I know we're not going to win on the road at an 85 overall. That's okay with me though, because we've officially brought in Doug. We've also officially brought in Joel. So we've now made up to 7 signings in this class. And just looking at the rest of our schedule, I think we can beat both Eastern and Central Michigan. These games are kind of important if we want to even be in the running for the MAC Conference Championship. I'm not sure why our division got better, but I can tell you right now, there is no room for error against the Eagles. Just the way that we've kept it close here in the 4th quarter cheers me up. I can't lie, I wasn't happy earlier. And that's because I dropped the 134 team tournament video today, but I made a huge mistake. If you haven't seen it, Florida won a game against LSU, but instead of putting them on, I put on the Tigers. And that's the first mistake during any of the imperialism or tournament videos I've made on College Football 25. It had me down, but if we can get a stop on 4th and 4, yeah, I'm gonna be feeling good. All we have to do to beat Eastern Michigan from this point is run for a couple first downs, and Ben Fowler, the second, is using his speed. I think he has these guys beat at this point. I mean, look at him just go. That's a huge touchdown. He is gonna be missed in a couple of seasons. And the Eagles tried their best to come back, but we were not going to let that happen in the end. We have now picked up our 4th win. Before that 88-yard carry, he was averaging like 1 yard per carry. But who really cares? We still won that game, and now we're going to try and beat Central Michigan too. I thought since this one was on the road, it would be tougher, but we have dominated against them. Ben Fowler finds his way in, and we have like a 4-possession lead here in the 3rd quarter. I know I've blown some big leads in previous videos, but there was no way that it was going to happen there. And at this point, he's averaging 2 touchdowns a game. All that I can really hope for is going into next season, not only does he max out these skill caps, but he also unlocks some of these physical abilities. I mean, he's got to be able to get at least 1 or 2. At the moment, we are sitting near the top of our division, but we still need to win a lot more games. And normally I'd play against a team like Northern Illinois, but I'm just going to leave it up to Sam. Even though I can hop into as many games as I want in this rebuild, I still want to have to build a good roster, and as you can see, we must be good enough if we beat the Huskies. That result makes us bowl eligible, and I'm pretty sure if we can beat Western Michigan, we would be in our conference championship. From this point in the season, all we have to do is win out. And there's no reason that we shouldn't be just fine going on the road at Toledo. Every other game we handled with no problems. Apparently it was different against the Rockets. It doesn't feel great to pick up a loss, but Buffalo also lost a game, so that means we're still atop the conference standings. All that matters is this matchup right here, but Western Michigan is 8-2. This game simply means way too much for us to drop though. We have a 7-point lead in the 4th quarter. And they know that we want to hand it off to Ben Fowler, but our blocks are so good it's not going to matter. This has become one of those really good seasons. Of course, on 4th down, they have to go for it, but we get the interception with Cummins, and we're about to come to the end zone against them too. I might as well just try to feed it to Butt, or we could hit Ben Fowler because he's wide open for a touchdown. I told you the targets that we put in place on this team like 2 seasons ago are finally getting their fair chance to shine. And Tavita B's getting some touchdowns, but not many passing yards. The only game we have left on our schedule now is against the Fighting Illini. We have taken care of business in the conference though, and that's all that we have needed to make it to the MAC championship. Well, this is a little bit of an embarrassing and and awkward update, but we're not in the conference championship. As you can see, we are the second-ranked team in the MAC conference, but I looked at the standings before Buffalo had played their final game in conference play, and they have the tiebreaker. If I didn't split it into divisions like it was in the old series, we would have been in there. But because I set it up like the Grand Rapids series was, Miami, Ohio is playing Buffalo for the MAC championship, and Grand Rapids is nowhere to be seen. I was proud of this team prematurely. Tavita B I probably shouldn't have been proud of with 15 interceptions, but at least Ben Fowler continues to get a little bit better. I just thought he'd have more rushing yards than this. On the receiving end of things, Ben Rossi was our #1 guy. After that, it kind of just gets split up evenly. And we have made it to the Heisman Trophy presentation, but I'm more worried about if we made it to a bowl game or not. It looks like we're going to get into the Cure Bowl in Orlando. I love pink, I love breast cancer awareness. This seems to be a great fit for this Grand Rapids team. And now we're going to face off against Appalachian State, who's just 1 overall better. If you're a fan of the Mastodons, this is a fantastic time to be alive. We have signed 16 3-stars, and what's important about this bowl game is if we win it, then we can go after anybody else. As much as I love going after only 3-stars from Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana, I need to broaden our horizons a bit. I saw a few star devs throughout it, including on our quarterback. And we should also remember the names Johnny Washington and Thad Wheaton at tight end. Talk about a perfect season if we can just go out and beat the Mountaineers. But I have been known to choke on College Football 25, so we just have to make sure we don't do that here. If we want any chance at winning it all in 8 seasons, this is arguably the most important game that could contribute to that. Great pocket awareness. We're going to find Butt, and Butt's going to put it in. Fun fact, just looking down the tunnel after that touchdown, I've been in there before. And it's one of those times I regret not filming, because if you go through there, you get to the UCF locker rooms. They've also got these cabanas down here on the field, cabanas, however you say it. What I'm trying to hit on is we got a pretty realistic stadium that we're playing in here at the Cure Bowl. That pass just got batted down. But by the 4th quarter, we're having a little bit more success versus this defense. Ben Fowler almost got in. All he has to do is fight a little bit harder right here. That's not difficult. But if we're not able to keep them out of the end zone, then this game isn't over. I'm a little bit surprised they're going for the onside kick with all 3 of their timeouts left, but we just got to snag this ball. That's what we have done. We're at about midfield. And it is time for Ben Fowler to pick up 1 first down for us, though they are creaming him. I thought we could get away by just throwing the football on 2nd down. It didn't work, but we are going to get away with it here on 3rd down. We make the catch. And that's all it's going to take to end this game. The Cure Bowl is going to go down as one of the most important bowl games in this Grand Rapids rebuild. I mean, we could not recruit better players if we didn't win it. And all of a sudden, most of the players we brought in this season are kind of irrelevant. I'm not saying they don't matter, but we are now able to get a plethora of other dudes. And if we are lucky enough, we might even be able to get somebody transferring out of one of these programs for more playing time. I never thought I'd see Maryland win it all, but welcome to a fictional dynasty. We are actually putting Jermaine Houston into the NFL. I had no idea he was a 90 overall. That's called player development. This kid was a part of a 58 overall Grand Rapids team. That alone has sparked a lot of interest in our program. We can go after any player that we want in recruiting now. The highest rated transfer interested is the 53rd and 54th best player. I have no idea what our success rate is going to be, but there are a lot of these transfers that are just freshmen or sophomores. And this is the type of screen that I like to see, but I have no idea how many times it's going to pop up. I am thrilled with how it turned out though, because besides Eli Edmond, who chose NC State over us, his loss, we got pretty much every single player on our board. And I thought 33 dudes was a lot to take at once, but Western Kentucky somehow had a better recruiting class than us, even though they only had 3 stars as well. I'm not quite sure how that works, but every single freshman that we brought in that was a transfer is rated higher than any of the high school prospects. Being able to recruit from anywhere is going to change this rebuild. We already have an 85 overall team, and this is just going into season number 5. This is some solid progression. A lot of those players are seniors that are going to be leaving us, but we have a big issue. We have a roster size of 85. That's the limit, but we have 105 players signed. I don't like being in these situations where I have to make roster cuts and get rid of players that probably won't ever see the field. It really hurts, especially at the wide receiver position, but I just don't see how somebody with 84 speed could ever get on the field for us. I probably got rid of more players than I should have, but we need to make room, especially since we can sign another really good class coming up. I think with this class, we should shoot our shot, so if the #1 player in the country is from Ohio, he is nearby, we might as well take a chance on it. This also could be the season where we beat a team like Michigan State. again, one of our biggest rivals. It'd be nice to take them down instead of just rivals that are inside of our conference. That's our outlook going into season number 5. Clearly, year number 4 was just an anomaly compared to the rest of them. And I was hoping to report that Ben Fowler II maybe got faster, maybe some of his abilities went up, but instead his skill caps just disappeared. I'm still not entirely sure where I want to spend all my coach points, but I know at least for the tactician tree, I want to make sure our quarterbacks have the best accuracy stats that they can possibly have. And that will also include maxing out tier 4 for the motivator just so they start the 4th quarter hot. It's the most important position on the field. Even with those boosts, Tyler Priester is still our number 1 option, but you know we're starting to V2B. Actually, I'm gonna take that back. For whatever reason, his accuracy never improved. He is getting benched for Tyler Priester, who sat his time on the bench last year and made sure that he is fully maxed out all his skill caps. When it comes to recruiting, I have also spent a little bit more in this coach tree. I've got us down to tier 4 for both quarterbacks and wide receivers. The reason for that all ties back to the quarterback position. We only have 350 hours to spend a week, so it's kind of weird we're going after 5 prospects, but look at both of these 2 options we could have at QB. Jamerson Harris has field general, he is magician, he is 95 speed as a quarterback, and he's a gym. But we could also get Jeff Paul, who has platinum field general as a freshman. They deserve 95 hours a week into them. I think Fung deserves the same. He is 95 speed at receiver. We're putting 50 into a 94 speed strong safety. And then, of course, the 5-star prospect, the number 1 in the country, 99 speed, shifty. We need him more than anything. Our entire plan is literally just sign those guys and then hopefully also pick up guys that we were starting the season on in first place. I've just offered a scholarship to a bunch of 3-stars. It's a little bit of a wild strategy, but I think those players could be difference makers for us. Looking at the start to the season, we're playing Middle Tennessee State. They're 2 overalls worse. And Dennis Couch has gotten 3 sacks in this game, so I'm assuming that we came out on top versus them. We're 1-0. You know what? We've not taken our shot at Michigan for a couple years. We're going to do it again. I'm pretty sure that we're not on their level yet, but if we can at least play competitively with them, we should be able to win the MAC. I think I'd consider having it within 10 points with a few minutes left. Pretty competitive, though we're going down. And I just needed a little bit more time there to make a read. They're instantly getting off the left side, and we're going to have to try to escape. That literally summarizes the entire game for us. I'm not sure if we're even going to have enough time to get this out on 4th down. I hit the wrong button. But don't count us out of this one yet because we are holding them to a field goal. I have one goal: pull off a 13-point comeback on the road versus the number 3 team in the country, and we're starting off well. I think we're about to run the same play because we're out there in hurry up mode, but we're going to go for the corner route this time, and we're out of bounds. It is a shame that we did not play this well the rest of the game. That's for sure. Once again, we got to just get out of bounds, and this could be a moment for us. We've beaten the press over there. It's placed decently well. We've made the touchdown grab, and I'll tell you one thing. He was a huge addition in the transfer portal. Now is where things get a little bit tougher. We still have to force a 3-and-out with our timeouts. They just hurdled over us. They've broken a tackle. I almost need to be able to push him out of bounds, and we can't. They're coming out in a QB kneel. I don't think there's anything we can do. It was a failed attempt at a comeback. Normally, I pull those off, but not here. I can start to hard sell on the best player in the country, though. At the moment, it seems like our hard sell's not going to be the worst in the world. And simply after advancing another week, you can see that we're comfortably sitting in first place for every single one of these players. The method is currently working. I also think that we're going to beat Michigan State in Sim. And if Rodney Gillikin is getting 5 sacks in one game, there's simply no way we did. We beat them 21-7. Our defensive line is screaming, so at least that's going well for us. We have a bye week before we start MAC conference play. And this is going to hurt me to do, but we are leaving just 10 hours on the 4-star strong safety because Notre Dame has the 5-star on a visit in week 4, so we got to bring him in right after. If we lose that battle, I'm going to be so upset. Jamerson Harris popped up as committed. Normally, we don't even get these. And we haven't had any issues with the transfer portal and players wanting to leave our school until now. That's completely fine, though. We have a ton of cornerbacks, and it seems like Notre Dame's going to finish at the finish line the same week that we do on Dante. They're going to get him. I no longer even care what happens against Ohio. I just want to find out if we can sign the best player in the country. And it is time for the moment of truth. Nothing popped up. Did we get him? We just signed Dante Lobato. I don't know why he chose us over Notre Dame. We also have both Jeff Paul and Jamerson Harris, so he's going to have somebody super good throwing to him. I mean, look at these stats. You could not ask for a better wide receiver. You know what? If we're just going to win games during sim and we can focus on recruiting, we're going to continue to do that. It feels like almost every week I'm seeing a pop-up for Rodney Gillikin winning player of the game. And we've improved to 4-1, though we just beat the Zips by 3 points. There are certain teams on our schedule, though, especially in our division, we need to take more seriously, like Buffalo. And that means we've got to hop into this home game against the Bulls. Just seeing that they were an 84 overall, I knew they'd match up with us pretty well, but we're only down by 3. We still have 2 minutes to get the win versus them, so I'm not necessarily that worried. I have noticed that Ben Fowler has only gotten 8 carries in this game though, which is just a shame. He should be getting more touches as a senior. I find it hard to find playbooks that I like though that have a good balance between running and passing. Right here, if we're patient, we can get the throw off. We're going to have Brownlee, the transfer senior, and we're at the red zone. All right, this is good progress with this team. We don't need that many more yards against them, to be honest. We have to watch for that clock chewing after we call a play, though, and it's off target. Tyler Priester cannot be missing that throw at this point in his career. We're going to catch it. And I think we just hurry this one up and call inside zone with Ben Fowler until we score a touchdown. We are in a very good spot as they have one more play to try and score versus us. It is not going to happen. That is how Grand Rapids takes care of things. We're now sitting at 5-1, and I have to wonder if we're going to lose again this season. I think we play in a weak enough conference where it might not, but the team overalls aren't that far below ours. I'm just going to keep on trying to get through the season, and we have a new batch of 4-stars that we're trying to land while Chester McWilliams still has not committed. I figured that after the Eastern Michigan game, though, this is what we'd get. And we've also taken them down 31-6. I think I'm going to be able to sim all the way up until our matchup against Toledo or maybe even at Illinois. That all goes out the window if we lose a game, though. Right now, Central Michigan's 2-1. They're 4-3 overall. So I feel comfortable just skipping over this one. I mean, just the fact that we're still winning, I think we're going to be inside the top 25 before we know it. And if our next opponent is 1-7 Northern Illinois, it doesn't get any better than this. You know what's disgusting though? We didn't play well in that game at all. We lost 39-17, and now we definitely have to play against Toledo and Illinois. I couldn't tell you what went wrong. Both Tyler Priester and Ben Fowler played in this game. Of course, Ben Fowler only touched the ball 9 times. And there's a race for a spot in the conference championship where Toledo could ruin everything. If the Rockets are only an 81 overall, I think we're going to be okay. And I think I underestimated how well our defense would play in a must-win scenario. I think our offense has also had a spectacular game. We somehow brought that ball in, and I was just chilling, throwing it up for fun. Zach Brownlee's actually been such a good addition for this receiving core, even if he's only here 1 season. And that's because he is so fast that he just stretches the defense where we can throw it to other players, and that is going to get us inside the 5. We might have had a close game against Buffalo, but we are starting to cook versus Toledo. And here on 3rd and goal, I'm looking in Tune's direction. We have not used him much. This one's already over. I'm just trying to make it worse than it already is. And I think asserting our dominance on the way to the MAC Conference Championship is exactly how we have to do things. Tyler Priester's come in with 4 touchdowns, 262 passing yards. And after we beat Western Michigan, I think we're even going to play this game at number 10 Illinois. I feel very confident in how we're going to end this season. They're just a 78 overall. And that means we've pretty much locked up our spot in our conference. There is something wrong with this team though. We lost to Western Michigan. We lost to 1-7 NIU earlier on in the year. And I already spoke too soon about us making the conference championship unless Toledo loses their last game. I will admit, I felt a little bit too confident. I don't even care if we beat Illinois now. And I think a loss was always expected, but this is such a disappointing end to the season. Toledo didn't lose again, so we have missed out on the MAC championship. And we just wasted Ben Fowler's senior year. These stats are worse than what he put up as a junior. When it comes to our quarterback play, though, Tyler Priester did not turn the ball over the same way that Tavita B did. That is interesting how that's changed over time. Our top receiver wasn't even Zach Brownlee, the transfer. It was actually freshman Kyle Toon. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still good things to look forward to. We signed a few more 4-stars. We also might get at least one more of these guys. I don't think we're getting the right tackle. But it just stinks to think back on 10 minutes ago when I thought we were going to be playing during conference championship week. I can't be too upset about it though. Both of our coordinators have done a pretty good job progressing. I mean, they've maxed out their tactician trees. And if it wasn't for this guy having strategist, I don't think we would have had as effective visits as we did, which got some of those 4 and 5 stars to sign. In like the 40 rebuilds I've done on this game, I've never gone down that path before, so it's something a little bit different, but we are struggling to finish the job on this 4-star defensive tackle. For the 3rd time on this file now, a Boise State quarterback has won the Heisman. I'm not sure how they keep on doing it, We have made it to a bowl game. It's the Cure Bowl again. We also lost Dante Gilden to Syracuse. That is just wonderful news right there. We ended up signing 8 elite prospects, and the rest of them are simply going to be 3 stars. Now, when it comes to these guys' dev traits, I'm seeing some impact. I'm seeing star on a tight end, which is big. But we have elite on Vong Fung. He is 95 speed. We have star on a quarterback. We have elite on a quarterback. Jamerson Harris is elite. And star on the #1 player in the country. You all haven't really seen the rest of the board though. Of the players we've been going after, I've done a good job making sure the guys on here have been interested, removing, adding more prospects, and we have a lot of 3 stars coming. This is going to be a much bigger class than you probably ever imagined, and we got to win back-to-back Cure Bowls. This is slowly starting to turn into our game. If we can't make the MAC championship, then we are at least going to make sure this team can't get a win. Real men wear pink, so I wish that we could at least get some like pink alternates in for this game. That's another thing that would be pretty cool with the team builder. Since they force you to have the team on an online file, we might as well be able to update the stadium and the jerseys whenever we're mid-dynasty. That just makes sense to me. It is now 4th and inches though. Big play right here that we're going to pick up. I mean, clearly something has just gone wrong offensively for this team. I thought we would not struggle against Coastal Carolina. It's a bad throw. Kyle Tunn was underthrown. And I'm embarrassed for what this team has become in the second half of the season. I mean, we were dominating up until this point. We now have to stop the run 3 straight times or we're not going to beat them. And this might be one of the worst collapses I've had in a rebuild in recent memory. I don't know if we got lucky or what, but here on 3rd down, we get them off the field. And we can still make sure that we finish this season with 9 wins. It is a long way from Grand Rapids to Orlando, but we have a ton of fans in the crowd supporting us during this one. We're going to hit Butt, and Butt is going to get out of bounds. His 85 speed, believe it or not, is not very effective for us. I think I just had a blind read. I am glad that that one worked. There's still 40 seconds left on the clock. We might throw it up to the transfer receiver, or we could hit our tight end in stride, and he's going to run straight under it to go all the way to the 1. Now, here's where I wonder if we should take a free touchdown, or we should chew some clock before we get in. And I might end up regretting that. It just chewed it down to 4 seconds in calling one more play. So this is it right here. Wait, I thought we were running the ball. We've scored. I am very, very confused right now. I want to be excited that we just won, but I can promise you PAX burst cross was not what was supposed to happen. I thought I was handing that ball off to Ben Fowler II. We do not deserve this bowl win, but you know what? We came out on top, we persevered, and that is what Grand Rapids is all about. We might not be a playoff caliber team yet, but I think it's something that we can reach in like the next 4 seasons. And just taking a look at the talent that we're losing, I think this is from my first recruiting class. I mean, we found a lot of gems in a class that I thought wasn't going to be that great. Of course, the one player I do want to highlight is Ben Fowler. It was nice to have him back on Grand Rapids. Brings back some nostalgia from that first series. But he was not drafted. Unlike Rodney Gillikin, who we saw popping up all season, he definitely deserves this. I normally don't care too much about defensive stats, but look at this. He had 13 sacks, the same as our sophomore, who's going to be back for 2 more years, Tyler Gainwell. And I can say that I'm excited for this transfer portal period because some of our school grades have gone up quite a bit. This year, none of the 4 stars seem to be interested in Grand Rapids, but of course, we know that guys like this sophomore, Ben Faulkner, are going to give us a shot, and we'll see if I can end up signing a full recruiting class of 35 players by getting all these transfers. There's definitely a method to the madness, but it all includes just sending the house until you can safely hard sell. And if you do it correctly, this is what your recruiting board is going to look like. I've been able to bring in a full board of players. I know that we probably didn't need all of them, but this builds a very solid foundation for winning a championship farther out. It could also be the best class that we ever land at Grand Rapids, finishing inside the top 25, but next year I think I'm only going to go after 4 and 5 stars. There were a lot of athletes that we picked up along the way, but the toughest decision to make is going to come down to Jamerson Harris. We know he's a field general. We know he's a magician, but he could also be an 81 overall freshman halfback, and I think we still have to make him a scrambler. He is the same overall as Jeff Paul, but that 95 speed is going to be so much more fun to use. I don't think I can justify starting him as a freshman if senior Tyler Priester's up to an 87. Looking at the rest of these training results, though, our team overall only went up by 1, but I think we have better players. Just scrolling down through these guys a little bit, you can tell that they're capped out because they were 3 stars. There's only a certain overall that they can get to. But I think they're good enough to win the MAC, assuming I don't have to cut them, because once again, our roster size is at 105 out of 85. I think there's going to be a lot of missing players on this team that we recruited that we thought could be decent, but then are just going to be gone because we didn't have room. One of those players is actually going to be junior wide receiver Steven Weatherford. He's just not fast like the other other ones. I had to get rid of a lot of seniors, which is why we only have 4 on this team now, but the thought process was I wanted to prepare for the future, so we have 52 total freshmen. The talent that is coming into this team, even if it's in the MAC conference, is top tier, so we're just going to keep on looking for it. And I've still been making sure to redshirt players that aren't going to have an opportunity to see the field, which is how we even got 52 freshmen in the first place. I think we could struggle to get back to 9-4 though, because just looking at our non-conference schedule, we have the number 5 team on there, the number 2 team, and the number 1 team. I'm hoping that maybe some of that national attention though can help us sign some of these 4 and 5 stars. Once again, I do have the number 1 player in the country on our board. We're in first place, and I also want this linebacker. Jeremy Dillard would be my user with the hammer ability. He'd have 88 speed. We should also talk about Nate Nijin, 92 speed at running back. Like, great options. Those are really some of the last building pieces I think this team needs, because halfback, I'm not sure if any of these guys are going to progress that well, but we have quarterback and receiver definitely covered for the future. I'm not even upset at myself for over recruiting though, because I think I've been able to filter out a lot of the players that weren't that useful, and we'll see what this roster can do as a young team against Ohio State. The expectations are not high, but let me tell you, we beat the Buckeyes. Ryan Day is going to be out of there the next day. He has clearly taken this game a little bit more seriously than the Michigan game though. As you can see, we've only scored 7 points and we're trying to come back. It's not really going well. I'm definitely missing out on Ben Fowler. Right here though, we are completing a pass, and I do want to try get it over to the number 1 recruit in the country, our freshman receiver. What on earth was that throw? That was supposed to be a streak. I'm not sure how he managed to put that there, but this wasn't a huge game, so I'm also not surprised the Buckeyes were fine in it. By the time this video's live, we'll know whether or not they beat Tennessee in the first round, and those playoff games are going to be exciting, but what would be more exciting is if we just took down Michigan State. We actually need to if we want to go after some of the gyms on our board, because our championship contender has already dropped below their requirements, and we just edged them out 30-27, but now we have to play against Michigan. This is a matchup I don't want to drop. They're currently sitting at 2-1, and I want to feel good about having a 3-point lead with a minute left, but I know that we can, especially since they're in field goal range. This is going to be a hard game to pull out versus Michigan, especially with where they're at on the field. We just have to get a user lurk or something, maybe even a sack. We missed. Mainly I missed. I should have been able to make that play right there. I should have my hands on the controller. And for a split second there, I didn't. I was more worried about what I was saying to you all, but we're fine. It's 3rd and 15. They have nowhere to go, and they could go to their flat maybe, but that's not going to get them enough. Where is our pressure? You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding. This is a joke. Now they're down to the 18 seconds left. They're running down the clock. They better not get in. Words cannot describe how beautiful it would be if they shanked this kick. I've seen the computer do it before, and Michigan is going to miss it. It has taken us like 6 or 7 years in this rebuild, but we have finally beaten the Wolverines with Grand Rapids. It is a great moment. We got to do it in front of our home fans, and this kind of makes the rest of the season very interesting. If we can simply find a way to not lose again, we should be considered as a playoff team. And we've been able to get a couple 4 stars to commit, but even though I put this kid on a visit later in the season, he still chose Notre Dame. You know what it is though? Looking at these prospects, our hard sell grades just are not good enough. They'd be good enough against MAC schools, but not some of these bigger ones like Ohio State. I don't think it's gonna bug me though if we end up losing most of these battles like it's projected, because we can use the transfer portal still, and we only have 4 seniors. We don't necessarily need anybody else. We signed the number 1 player last year, and now he's winning MAC Player of the Week. What I've been doing is a little bit of recruiting and then just simming past each game, and it's worked out for us so far. Once we got to MAC conference play, I figured we'd probably be okay in most of these. We're already sitting at the top of our division alongside Toledo, but we saw how that played out last year. We've now won 5 in a row, and if there's any of these I'm a little bit concerned about, I'll play, but they're like a 78 overall. We should simply be winning a lot of these games. We have a freshman receiver in Rick Hackett going off for 4 receptions, and every single catch was a touchdown. There was an exception though, and that was against Eastern Michigan, one of our in-state rivals. I probably should have known better. We're still fine though. We've made it to this point in the season where we play Toledo. They're undefeated in conference play. If we beat them, we have the spot in the conference championship. And when it comes to recruiting, we lost out on the number 30 player in the country, the 5-star middle linebacker Jim, but we signed the number 1 player in the country 2 years in a row. We also should get this elusive back. This quarterback chose Michigan State, which is understandable. We have 2 good freshmen. I'm still trying to get these other 4 stars, but they're not a necessity. That's pretty much the entire rundown of what's happened. I'm shocked that we are ranked at 7-2 as a MAC team, but we're starting to get more respect. That win over Michigan's holding a lot of value, but we have to make sure that the Rockets don't shock us. I wouldn't put it past this team to find a way to somehow lose to Toledo. And just the fact that we have 0 points here in the 3rd quarter, I think I've seen enough. I'm gonna try to thread the needle here. I'm going to see if we can make the aggressive catch, and it's a flag against them, but I might be making a quarterback change. This could be very, very dumb, but just the fact that we haven't scored bugs me so much. Jamerson Harris deserves a shot. I thought he was going to sit on the bench for a full season and just learn, but we're going to try and take off with him. Look at how quick he is. This is going to be the best thing ever. We have this for 4 seasons. Let's go ahead and get him his first tutty. I'm hoping a change like this can spark some energy. Maybe we'll come back. And we've already gotten the Rockets to a 3rd and 10. You can say that our senior quarterback might be getting treated terribly, but he was still having red meter throws as a senior. I wasn't liking what I was seeing, and we can literally do whatever we want with Harris. I think the computer's gonna have to start putting like 2 quarterback spies out there, a little bit of a speed option with that threat as well. And everything was looking great until we've been faced with a 3rd and 14. We are sending this one up. We're coming back to it. The freshman has it. He might be young, but he clearly is aware. And it took 2 more plays for us to force an interception. We already are in a spot where we could tie it up. I'm telling you, the quarterback change has had an effect on this team. Slant is open. Merritt comes back to it. We're at the 1. Grand Rapids has found their future. They have found the guy that is going to get it done. And Toledo's offense has been able to do absolutely nothing versus us. What are you going to do? You're not going to run for it on 3rd and 17. I think it is time for one final test. Can they keep up with our freshman, 1-on-1, 99 speed? I don't think they can. He's too good for the MAC conference. We've scored 28 straight points. This is beautiful. This might be the day for us that Grand Rapids history changes forever. You're going to take a sack here or go to your check down. You're not going to run for the first down once again. The only thing that could ever hurt our morale is our quarterback getting injured. He's about to get a first. And I've been waiting to have a player that can actually run this for multiple rebuilds now, but we can't. We are 1 first down away from securing our win over Toledo. Blocks look good. That's enough. I can't believe what Jamerson Harris has been able to do for us in a short time. But it is literally only going to go up from here, and he has the field general. He has the magician abilities as a freshman. He is everything we need. What a performance from him. 4 touchdowns already. And you know what? We couldn't trust Tyler Priester to win this game in sim, but I'm going to see if he can. There were a lot of 4-stars on a visit for this week, and I think things went well. Which they did. Grand Rapids now finds themselves all the way here in the top 15. Not only have we guaranteed that we have a spot in the MAC Conference Championship, but if we beat Illinois, I think we have a decent shot at making the 12-team playoff. I was hoping our win over Western Michigan would be a little bit more though. 17-13 is not that reassuring. But it's too late to go back on the quarterback change. We're putting elite freshman Jamerson Harris out there, and look at this. He is like no skill caps at all. His accuracy could max out at 99. The reason I want to use him so badly is I think he's the best quarterback prospect I have found in a rebuild all season on this game. Though right here, he's going to have to escape the pressure and get out of bounds. As you can see, it has been a rough first half versus the Fighting Illini, and I'm hoping that we can change that. I'm not sure what has gone so wrong for this team, but he might have to scramble here, and there's not anywhere to go. Everybody's already doing a pretty good job at containing his run. Man-to-man coverage, though, will take a touchdown. Now, our main goal is, of course, to come back, but Illinois has taken as much time as they possibly can out of this drive. They chewed the clock down to 3 seconds, even on this play, and they get in. I don't think I can pull off the same miracle that I did the week prior against Toledo. I guess we played Western Michigan in between that. But look at this. We have a huge game. We can still dominate and do well. I mean, we're going to beat the press once again. And you know exactly what matters now. 3rd down, they're running it, and we're all over him. I am not going to give up on this team in our playoff hopes. We should have a completion right here. It was a red throw. I'm not sure if we could have had it any harder, though. That is one of the downsides of using a player whose accuracies are not that improved yet. But this game is not over. There's still 4 minutes left, and we are just going to take off and scramble. 4 verticals and lots of running. That's what we can do with Harris. I wish there were more plays out of this playbook that were better, but I think we literally just have to keep on slinging it. And I'm not going to shy away from going for the 2-point conversion if the game wants us to. That is beautiful. No way. There's no reason that ball should have ever been dropped. 3rd and 4, they're throwing it, they're not running it, and our man-to-man coverage didn't stick. Now, they did say this wasn't a catch originally, but I think it's going to be. The Fighting Illini challenged it. They turned out to be correct, but we can still stop them. I'm very serious about this team getting into the playoffs. We deserve it. All we have to do is make sure they don't pick up this 3rd and 15, and that is not going to happen. Now, here is the challenging part. We have to go 90 yards down the field in about 90 seconds, but if they run man-to-man, it sets up the lane to run it. I'm sending a lot of streaks down the field at all times just in case we ever want to take them. I might be forcing it right here. That is going to go down as probably one of the worst reads in this video, but you know what? It was worth the chance, and now we're not making the playoffs. I'm not going to get mad at myself. You know me. I'm not slamming the controller. It is what it is. I've accepted I'm not the best. And I can't even say we got cheated out of that one. I made a couple of bad reads, but we're picking up multiple 4 stars still. I think there's too many positive things going on for me to be worried about the playoffs this season. We still can win our conference championship for the first time as a program. I think Ball State is very beatable, though they are a higher overall. And that alone would be a huge deal. I think we're only in season number 6. I really want this for Jamerson Harris. I want him to be able to win a conference championship as a freshman QB. And this is the experience he's going to have to get if we want him to develop into the quarterback that's going to lead us to a national title in the future. There's no way he just made that pass. His accuracy stats aren't even that good at the moment. Hang on, what are you doing inside the building, buddy? How was he in the stands? As much as I thought EA got the physics right on this game, maybe they didn't. As we are approaching the end of the first half, we're up 14. But I might be trying to do a little bit too much with Harris. We're going to roll out here, and we have our crosser. We need him to hold on. Kyle Toon goes to the 5. It's looking pretty good. If we could go up 21-0 before the end of the first half, I mean, they're not going to come back. They're going to try their best to do so is what I've learned, though. At the moment, they have gotten it back within 7, but we have a touchdown on the corner route. I've kind of just accepted we're going to be okay. Here on 4th and 1, they have to complete this pass. I knew where they were going. And we've played solid enough defense all day that we're going to get the interception right there. I have never seen a corner make that play before. It always results in them like flopping over, missing the ball, and then they get an easy touchdown. This might be the greatest defensive play I have seen in this game. Elijah Honeycutt just secured the conference championship for us. Why do our players look so upset? You should be happy. You just won. Jamerson Harris literally threw for almost 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. And I am happy to say that we have won our first of hopefully many MAC championships. Now, I think there's still a slight chance that we do make the playoffs. We could be the 5th highest ranked conference champion. That is going to be the Arizona Bowl, though. It looks like TCU, ranked 20th in the country, is actually who gets the 5th seed. Charlotte got in as a 4. We could have made it. I can't be too upset, though, about being in the top 25. I mean, this is great progress. And most of the season stats are going to be Tyler Priester getting his numbers up. But look at this. Jamerson Harris has thrown 5 picks in like 4 or 3 games. Not great. He also is averaging less yards per carry than Tyler Priester. Not sure what's going on there, but I am believing in him to get better throughout the years. From a receiving perspective, we might have 2,000-yard receivers after this bowl game, and Dante Lobato, the former #1 player in the country, put up the same numbers as Kyle Toon. That works for me. Now we just have to make sure San Jose State doesn't beat us. It might not be the Cure Bowl, but we have not lost a single bowl game in this rebuild. And I planned on keeping that title, but what is up with our offensive struggles in these bowl games? I'm not sure why we are not able to move the ball until the 4th quarter. It is what it is. Jamerson Harris is going to clutch up for us. That is what I'm expecting. Man-to-man coverage here. We can scramble for it, and we can start to hand the ball off because there's still 2 minutes left in this game. Now that right there could have been a fumble. I'm actually impressed that Maggio was able to hold on to it. He is going to hit this outer edge. I don't want him to get in yet. And that was because I didn't know what San Jose State's offense was going to do, but they're running it. They have zero care in the world. It is now 4th down. We can make a play on that ball for sure. I was about to say, if he didn't get his arms high enough, you need to raise him somehow. That's how you clutch up, protecting the perfect bowl record for Grand Rapids. And just take a look at that steady progression out of head coach Andrew Luck. We have now cracked double-digit wins, and I'm hoping that we just keep on going up. I think it's very realistic to think we could be a playoff team next season. But there are a few players that'll be missing from the roster, like Reggie Maggio. He was our starting running back, and of course, Dennis Couch, the highest overall we've ever had. I think we have like 7 defensive tackles, though, so surely somebody can take his place. And it turns out we ended up having 8 players that we signed in the regular season. It's time to check the dev traits. We have star, we have elite on some of the top guys, elite on the #1 player in the country, of course. And I do like star dev on Cam because with 91 speed, he could be our starting running back. There is also the chance, though, we find our starter through the portal. Right here, we have Emmett Salter. This kid's ranked 13th in the portal. And then we have other guys down here that are also good running backs we could try and recruit. I can just tell this is turning into one of those situations, though, where I go after way more players than we need because we currently have 11 transfers on our board. It's going to be a challenge to figure out who can actually stay on this roster, especially since I know we already brought in one of the 4-star running backs. But this is what I get for being aggressive in the portal. The only player that I care about we didn't bring in was 4-star Emmett Salter, the one running back that was ranked the highest. We just barely lost him to Georgia. Once again, top class in the conference. It's going to be very hard for us to not win the MAC going forward. And the 5-star #1 player in the country is actually ranked higher than all these transfers. I guess that does make sense. The 4 stars are below though. Now, I do think it's a shame that we have a running back room of like 10 players and none of these guys really stand out. So there's still hope for Cam Lanier to earn that job going forward. There's honestly some huge players starting to come out of this program too. Look at our defensive line. We've developed a guy that's a 97 and a 94. And I wasn't expecting training results to be this crazy, but I'm not sure if we're actually a 90 overall because the fall off is pretty quick. Jamerson Harris might not have upgraded his field general, but he is platinum magician and we need those accuracies to keep on bumping up. There is still like 10 running backs, by the way, that are all like the exact same player, so I think we're gonna have to cut out of this room. I mean, I can't help myself. I'm 13 over the roster size and there's a lot of these players that are gonna have to go. It also is a weird decision to make, but our best receiver, senior Rashard Merrick, at an 84 overall with no tactician boost, is getting encouraged to transfer. He was so slow I didn't ever want him out there on the field, and with none of these other skill trees unlocked, I think it's time that we go down the tactician path. The only other one that could be interesting is talent developer, but at this point I think we've already built the foundation for our championship roster. And architect doesn't help us because even though we've played in like 50 rivalry games, they don't count as rivalry games in this game because with the team builder teams, you can't set your own rivalries. I hope that made at least a little bit of sense. We have 90 coach points to spend, so at least for now what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to make sure our offensive line and our entire defense is maxed out. And what that has done for our team is we're still a 90 overall, but now we have a 99 in Tyler Gainwell on our defensive line. I don't understand how he progressed this well. He's a power rusher. He is normal dev. He's 5'9", 171. Was this an athlete off the rip? I literally think both him and Brian Garnes for sure was an athlete because I remember this kid was supposed to be a running back, but he was fast, and look at that. Yeah, 88 speed as a rusher. They're very undersized for the position, especially Tyler Gainwell, but you know what? He gets in there quick. He's a 99, and look at this receiver core. It's about to be all about player progression through these next few seasons, and looking at this schedule, of course we have to have in-state rivals Michigan and Michigan State on it. I don't want them to not be there for a season, so unfortunately it makes our schedule bland since we're also locked into the Illinois game. Looking at this, we have 10 seniors and we have signed the #1 player in the country 2 years in a row, but this season they're not even giving us a chance to make it 3 in a row. I think we're going to be just fine though. As you can see, our board consists of 7 5-stars, and then I've also put a punter on here, so I'm not forgetting about that. But if I'm remembering right from last night, this team is pretty much set up to be good this year and then win a championship next season. I'm just going to sim these first couple games before playing against Michigan. I know that most of the starters are like sophomores, so they have a lot of room to still grow. And I'm not surprised at all that Tyler Gainwell had 3 sacks against Indiana. We beat the Hoosiers by 18. We held them to just 10 points. And then Michigan State we took down by 4 because of a 4th quarter comeback, but I don't like how few points we're scoring. That's exactly why I think these guys need just some more time to get a little bit better, but we will see how we do against the #1 team who is undefeated. Not only is it a rivalry, but it's also listed as the game of the week. And just like last season, as long as we're competitive here, we know that we can probably make a deep run in the playoffs whenever those come. My expectation is that we're not going to win this one outright, but we're about to go up 14-0. And ever since then, Michigan's been trying to make a stand to come back versus us, but we're holding on to catches like that, and here on 2nd and 10, I'm trying to escape. They're so quick. The home field advantage is definitely getting to me. It's been a lot harder to make reads, but we're going to have our tight end. Small is going to go all the way to the 2, and I think we should be able to punch it in from here. If I handed that off, it wouldn't have worked. The offense continues to get a little bit better each week, but Michigan's not going away, and on 3rd down, we missed the throw. That's really why I want to see guys develop a little bit more. I just got routed up on 3rd down, and I'll just control the safety instead. Well, I'll make sure that we don't get burnt too deep. This is going to be 4th and 8. You know what? Even if it's not a perfect roster, you don't need a perfect roster to win a championship in this game. I don't think they're going to be able to get back to that ball. And we have set ourselves up to take down the Wolverines. Duke gets the carry and he goes for 8. This is like the best game that we've played all year, so it could be fluky still. But I think we're going to be okay the way that we're managing the clock. I was able to run backwards just enough to get this pass completed. And that meant that we didn't have to snap the ball again before the 2-minute warning. Managing the clock is big. The Wolverines have no choice but to start using their timeouts, and we're about to go up 2 possessions. The only way we would have still been in a difficult spot spot is if they were able to somehow score quickly, but that just didn't happen. Even if they're somehow completing a pass like that, I think it could have been a pick six. We're gonna be all right. We just got to make a play on this ball. And here we go. One final stop, 4 verticals. We know the look that we're gonna get. They're sending it up. I want to get the interception, and we're going to snag it with Sampy. That'll just make our defensive stats look better throughout the season. I mean, we're about to play a bunch of MAC conference games. There's no way teams are scoring. Jamerson Harris should also continue to elevate his level of play. And I didn't realize that Tyler Gainwell had 4 sacks in that matchup. He is playing like a 99 overall. We have signed the punter. We have also signed this 5-star wide receiver. But as you can see, we haven't locked in other 5-star prospects. Now I should feel pretty confident to get past most of these conference games unless somebody's like undefeated. And we just know that both of our rushers are going to feast with a bunch of sacks. Of course, I'm not surprised we beat Miami, Ohio. I'm not surprised we won at Kent State, but look at this. On our schedule, we have 2 top 25 teams left, and one of them's Buffalo. They've seemed to be near the top of our division recently, so we're going to have to play them. We're probably going to have to play against Western Michigan, maybe even Toledo. And I'm okay with that because although some of these 5 stars are starting to commit a little bit more often, there are a few of them that are on a visit for this game against the Bulls, so we have to beat them. Those guys really aren't that needed, but in case we somehow don't win in the next like 3 seasons, we still have to have good talent. And this is a perfect example of why we just got to be building a good team. How are we losing? Our offense has scored 7 points through a full 4 quarters basically against Buffalo. And the only reason this game isn't already over is because we are in a spot where we can come back with 3 timeouts. I'm sending it up to Lobato. He's super hard for these teams to contain. I'm going to be patient right here. Maybe hit our slant if that throw is on target. And I just can't believe still that we're in this position at the moment. It's 4th down. Our offensive line is letting Buffalo get in way too fast. I almost think we have to run for this. Are we short? We have been blessed. It has been marked as a 1st down. Very, very close call right there. And rolling out. Make this throw. They're picking it off. We're going to lose to Buffalo. We're going to lose by 3 possessions to Buffalo. What has happened to this team? This is exactly why I was a little bit pessimistic coming into this season. And it's just ridiculous that we lost by this much at home. It's embarrassing. It is safe to say I have no idea how Braden Wynn has decided to still commit to Grand Rapids. And there it is. We've lost out on some battles to TCU and Michigan. Very understandable. We also might not get this corner. That doesn't mean that much though. Now we have to root against other teams like Central Michigan, Western Michigan, Buffalo, and I'll be playing against them, but to get to that point, we also have to win these other games. Thankfully, Eastern Michigan didn't give us many problems. It's just the fact that we're only scoring 24. All of a sudden, I'm questioning how good we'd really do in the playoffs. We took down Michigan, though. That was a huge win for us, and they're still ranked inside the top 10. I guess we'll just see how the season plays out. Central Michigan, 2-1 in conference play, but they're just an 82. And I'd much rather this team just get some more development. We're getting through this season. Dante Lobato went off for 200 yards against NIU. We are continuing to win, though, so as we approach these final few weeks playing teams that are about 500, we might be able to finish 11-1. And that'd be perfect if Buffalo wasn't sitting at the top of our division with no conference losses. They'd have to lose 2 games to miss out on the conference championship. The only way we're getting into the playoffs is if we're ranked in the top 12. And that shouldn't be a problem. We just won that game. Now we're playing at Western Michigan. Freshman Vaughn Fung went off. He had 3 receiving touchdowns. And Grand Rapids finds themselves in a spot where we're playing number 15 Illinois at 7-4 for a spot in the playoffs. All I had to do was sim every game. We probably would have beaten Buffalo as well. And just out of curiosity, I was seeing if we had anybody up here in the Heisman race, but that's not the case. This is where we simply cannot afford to mess up versus the Fighting Illini. They have the home field advantage. And we have played a real offensive game versus them. We've actually scored points. To start this 4th quarter, we went up by 15. I'm hoping we can go up by 17. But we were short of the end zone right there, so defensive stops are still very important. On 3rd down, they're going to make it 4th and manageable. But I think we're going to be all right. We'll see if they have anybody open. They're going to throw it straight at us, and we tipped it, but they couldn't catch it. I expected us to be able to take them down. We're definitely going to be able to just finish this one off. And that's a good win for us, even if Illinois was massively overrated, having 4 losses and being inside the top 15. It kind of makes sense how we can be ranked so highly, though. And that's because a lot of these teams have multiple losses, though I do notice one thing. Michigan at 10-2, who we took down, is ranked above us by quite a bit. We aren't going to be able to jump anybody else, even 10-2 UConn, because we don't play in a conference championship. Buffalo went 11-1. And just looking through their schedule, they won at Kentucky. That's a pretty big win, but besides that, it has been as soft as charming. I really wish our offense just showed up against them. Alabama won the Heisman Trophy, even though I'm pretty sure they are unranked. and we are getting Stanford in the first round. Looking at this bracket, I feel like that's a good draw, but we have Michigan on our side, we have Buffalo on our side, and we'd have to play Oregon in the next round if we do take down Stanford. We have also failed to get the 5-star corner to commit after recruiting him for almost the entire season. And I think this is the first time that I have signed 5 stars and none of them have had elite depth. I'm sure they'll still be good if they ever play for us, but it is time to find out what we're going to do against the Cardinals. As long as Jamerson Harris is playing as well as he did throughout most of the season, besides against Buffalo, we should be okay. 35 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. And he was also our second leading rusher on this team, but we clearly throw the ball a lot more. It's actually Kyle Toon's worst season he's had in his career. We have 2 guys with 11 touchdowns again, both nearing 1,000 receiving yards. And I just realized that we get to host a home playoff game. As we approach the end of this first half, we have a 10-6 lead over Stanford. I'm hoping that we can extend it right here. We just need him to run for a lot. Jamerson Harris already has 61 yards on the ground. I think we had our slant early on. And with his accuracy still being pretty low, it is so easy to throw inaccurate balls with him, but we're going to complete the zig. I just know for a fact that next season he could be so much better. We got that catch. I don't know how. That ball was not supposed to be there. I aimed for this to be near the left sideline, but it was just put around this defender somehow. I mean, what a play. That's the type of stuff that sets you up to win these games. I wonder if they've forgotten that we have a 99 speed wide receiver. We haven't gone to him much in this game, and Lobato holds on. Dante Lobato. Grand Rapids is definitely moving on to the quarterfinals. But I'll give Stanford their credit. Their offense came alive a lot more later in this game, so we've had to keep on scoring. Kyle Toon securing that touchdown grab, though, pretty much just locks in this win. And Jamerson Harris had a successful playoff debut. I am a little bit confused, though, because how are we playing the Wolverines next? I must have looked at the wrong bracket or something, because Buffalo was in the 4 spot. I know that Michigan was the 5, and we were supposed to be playing the Ducks. I'm stumped. I have no idea what has even happened, but now we're going to have to take on Michigan for the second time this season. The only thing I think I might have done is if I viewed the playoff bracket in conference championship week, it would have been different. But I feel like I viewed it at the right time. Maybe there's another glitch in Dynasty. That has left me very confused, and I'm not a fan of having to play the Wolverines again. They've already gone up 14-0. They clearly want their revenge, and their man-to-man coverage is destroying us. We have fumbled it. This is just one of those terrible offensive performances. We knew that we were going to be due for one like this. And at the moment, they're now up 17-0, but we have a chance to finally score. We all know how we have to end this first half. I'm looking at the coverage they have out there, and it's just a bad pass. It's only going to get worse from there. Now it is 27-7. We're about to start the fourth quarter, but I saw Kyle Toon beat his man, and I'm sorry, how did he not catch this ball right here? Nah, he whiffed it. I was very confused after the play why he didn't keep running for a touchdown. This is so sad. I have no shame. We are going to throw this ball up to our 99 speed receiver if I have time to do it. You know what? It's on to the next season. There was no chance of coming back after that, even if we put up a decent effort. And you might think that Michigan went on to win it all, but no, they lost to Tulsa in the national championship. I'm getting this team prepared for next season. I wasn't happy with our receivers in that game, so we are going to spend our 20 coach points making sure they have the full tactician boost. And you should already know by this point that both our coordinators have maxed out that tree. I mean, they keep on improving. We have a great setup. It is a shame that we are supposed to lose a few good players from this team, though. They won't be back next season. This guy's not transferring. And I don't love we're losing a couple linemen. That will hurt us. We're also losing Tyler Gainwell, but let's see. Will Brian Garnes come back? No, his persuasion chance was high. You know, it'd be really cool if in one of these rebuilds I could use stuff like Program Builder. It would give us a different change of pace, but I have to win 5 playoff games to unlock it. And that would allow me to convince some players to come back to school. I've already made this rant before, but it's the same thing with the CEO. There's some cool stuff in here, but you have to win 2 national championships, and by that point, your dynasty's basically over. You can definitely still have fun with it, but you don't need the help from the stuff in those skill trees if you've already won 2 championships. I just don't like the unlock requirements. It's also a shame we have to say goodbye to our best defensive player, best player in school history, 95 overall, 99 with tactician boost, Tyler Gainwell. Now it's all about who else we can get in here. We have one of the top transfers, a wide receiver considering our team. That actually could help us a bunch. I'm just going to build this team out of the transfer portal. We're even going after a quarterback. I don't know how on earth I'd ever say that last name, but if we land him, there's a chance I might have to. He is field general, and his throwing stats are very, very good. He has 94 medium accuracy. I know we're all big fans of Jamerson Harris, but we'll see how much his accuracies jump up during the offseason, because right now they aren't as high as I want them to be. Ian Corinne Kowischek has committed, so we got the kid from Connecticut. But I'm worried about some of these other players. I don't think we're getting the center. I don't think we're getting this left end. At least we should get Doug Isaac. I have to scout him out of just pure curiosity. He has 92 speed and takeoff and shifty, but he might not even be a starter. It's nice that he committed, but these transfers could be useless almost. And that's why I'm not too upset that we missed out on a couple of these players. It's the best recruiting class we've had in school history, only with 12 dudes signed. Of course, we had more 5 stars than 4 stars. And just look at this. Some of these 5 stars are actually ranked below some of the 4-star transfers. Doug Isaac comes in as an 87 overall. That is exactly what I wanted to see. But I might be moving him to running back because he'd be a 91. Instead, though, it's going to be Kyle Toon that gets the boot over there. He goes up to a 95. And I am hoping that once we look at these training results, we're going to have like a 94 overall team. That's what we've gotten. Kyle Toon's the best player, of course. But Dante Lobato's up to a 96 as a junior. We have to make a few roster cuts, so I think we can still get this to go up. And I want to be very clear that this season has turned into championship or bust. Now, Jamerson Harris is only a couple overalls better than Ian, but I think we are going to roll with him. And the reason for that is even though his accuracies still haven't gone up as much as I'd like them to, it's that 95 speed that makes a difference. We literally need someone just running around, slinging the rock. Of course, we have Michigan State on here. Buffalo is also going to be ranked on this schedule. And every single season we have improved throughout this rebuild, so there's no question that we should get to 13 wins. There is a little bit of a concern though with this team and what's going to happen if we don't win it all this year. We have 24 seniors, 34 team needs. And to that I can say we'll get 5 stars and trust the transfer portal. Looking at our recruiting board alone, we're recruiting at Grand Rapids like we've won multiple championships. And our school grades certainly help with that. I will say the championship contender thing is up so high because we've been able to get our blue chip ratio up a lot farther. That's the percentage of 4 and 5 stars that you have on your team, and it also contributes to your ranking. That's why it's important we keep signing these highly rated guys, and our offense has dropped 55 and then 63 points versus Michigan State. The big game coming up, though, is against Michigan. They're currently ranked number 3 in the country. We are number 9, so we just have to make sure that we don't lose at Hulu Field. Knowing how this game went in the playoffs last year, I'm happy to see that we have control of it in the 4th. And we should be able to just finish off this drive right here. We have to fight for it though. The Michigan defensive line has been the biggest problem in this game. They've still generated a ton of pressure versus us. But at the end of the day, you can only contain Jamerson Harris for so long. Meanwhile, our defense has held them to just 10 points in this one, and that's on me. That's on my user. We can't celebrate too early, that's for sure. This game is not over. On the 2-point conversion, it looks like they're going to try to run. We're going to bring them down. And I'm not sure if we can trust Kyle Toon to help us run out the rest of the clock or not. You see that number 88 at running back, but he gets us close. You can definitely see he's taken wear and tear damage in this game. He's not built to be a running back. That is not important though. What's important is we are able to run it out. And I'm not feeling great about being on a 3rd and 15. Though I think we're going to have Duke. It is Duke, and Duke is just going to keep on running for a touchdown. He's one of our running backs. I don't know why he's on the field at wide receiver, but he's the only reason we're going to take down Michigan because they scored a touchdown in the final seconds. That was a battle, but it's also what we expected. And if things do go south this year, our future at wide receiver is going to be just fine. To be honest though, I'm prepared for this team to win it all. I think we can sim through most of the year. That was the worst thing I could have said though. Western Kentucky beat us by 3 points. I should have known something wasn't going to go the way we needed it to. Now we definitely have to make sure we play at number 11 Buffalo. And there's a chance we don't make it back to the conference championship for another season. All it took was one bad game and there's multiple 5 stars that would no longer even consider our school. All I can say is we better beat 0-4 Kent State. And thankfully we did 56-17, but I have even better news. Buffalo has lost a game as well. They're not perfect and now we have a chance to take them down. This is a big one for us. I thought we were just going to go undefeated throughout the entire year. But with that off the table, knowing that we could have 2 losses and miss the playoffs is always going to be on my mind. At least to start this 4th quarter, we are up 21-7 and we should be able to get our lead even farther, but we're dropping it. It's almost like everybody on our offense just needed another season of development. Jamerson Harris trying to make a play. I think this is going to be an interception, but I wanted the highlight. That was not the time to play stupid though. Now Buffalo's driven it down the field. They're about to get it back within a possession. And I think they're just playing way too aggressively versus our team. We're definitely going to have a touchdown right here. Why would you press him? Of course, that would have been a much easier read if we had Dante Lobato out there, but he has a partial MCL tear. He's out for 7 weeks. And that could be a little bit concerning for the upcoming matchups that we sim. That was another game, though, that just felt like we always had control of it. And the one team that's still making a run during conference play in our division is Toledo. We're back up to number 11 in the country, but we have some more games to get through. And this is what I want to see out of Emmanuel Casey. Our strong safety gets 2 interceptions. We didn't just take down Eastern Michigan. We beat them 61-3. And I've unlocked 20 coach points, so I can max out all of the tactician stuff once and for all. I think that one in the bottom right just isn't that useful. Yeah, it's cross-training. Maybe there is a way for that to be decent. I just haven't found it. And it seems like pretty much all these 5-stars are signing with Grand Rapids besides the one free safety. That's a bad decision, young man. You could be a part of the roster that just destroyed Central Michigan. We beat NIU, and now we have to play at number 16, 10-0 Toledo. This is actually a huge matchup for us. If we don't win, we're not in the conference championship. We also need Jamerson Harris to go off because he's in the Heisman race, and I don't want to see a 4th Boise State quarterback win the Heisman. It all comes down to this right here, 95 versus 85. I'd like to think that so far we'd proven Toledo's pretty fraudulent, but they've scored 10 straight after going up 21-0, and this could be a spectacular play. That is why I wanted Jamerson Harris in the first place. He should be able to run it in. And my expectation going into this one was a game like this should not be close. We ended up winning 42-17. They didn't stand much of a chance. And that's kind of sad for them because it could ruin their playoff hopes. I think ours are locked in, but I am going to play against Western Michigan because I can just to make sure. Well, I can give our defense full credit in this game, but not our offense. The fact that we have only scored 21 does not make me happy. We're getting an interception right here. Could we get to 28? Normally, it makes sense to take a knee, but we are trying to have a Heisman campaign with Jamerson Harris, and he spins. I thought a lot more was going to happen after that. That was not the case at all. Rolling out here, we should have the comeback route. It's a pick, though. That's why I shouldn't even be playing right now. I just made his stats worse for no reason, and we're left with one more game in the season. It's against Illinois. They're number 15 again, but we can get into the playoffs whether we take them down or not, and that's because we've clinched a spot in the conference championship, so I'm not worried. I think we actually ended up playing way better in sim. Jamerson Harris went off. And there it is. We're going to have a chance at revenge against Western Kentucky in the conference championship. That should be a good matchup. As you can see, 49-7. And Jamerson Harris could still take home the Heisman, but he's going to need to have a ton of touchdowns against the Hilltoppers. As for the top 25, Michigan is above us again at 10-2, so we probably aren't able to get that overall 1 seed. But we can't be worried about hypotheticals. We have to make sure we actually beat Western Kentucky. We have already taken that trophy home once. We're probably about to do it again. And it is so nice to know that we have the threat of Dante Lobato over on that side of the field like at all times, so they have to stick with him. The main goal for this game, though, might not even be winning it. It's getting Jamerson Harris as many touchdowns as possible. And we could end the first half with another one right here. Throw on the run to Isaac. He is going to fight his way in. I think Doug Isaac has played his role well for this team. I'm hoping they run man-to-man coverage right here so we can have a touchdown to him. The fade route's open, but he's going to stop short. He fumbles it. What are we doing, Doug Isaac? You might have just cost us a Heisman Trophy. I'm throwing the challenge flag. Why not? And let's see. Did he have a knee down before this ball popped out? He definitely did. That was worth taking a chance on. They are pressing very well right here. But Jamerson Harris doesn't care. He will go straight back to it if he needs to. We could also always run it in. Now, I didn't plan on them scoring as fast as they did, but we have been able to drive down the field and hopefully respond, which would then put this one out of reach, which it's felt like it has been for them all game. We ended up winning this one by quite a bit, 38-8, and I just hope we did enough with Jamerson Harris so he can win the Heisman Trophy. I expected us to win a lot of these conference championships, but that's only our second one so far, and if this trend continues, we have to win at least one more game. Here we go. It is time for the Heisman Trophy. I think it pops up right after this screen. It is going to be Jamerson Harris. That is an accomplishment in itself. Alton Isaac, our right end, had 16 sacks. And Doug Isaac, the transfer wide receiver, was the best receiver in the country. Talk about a really good season out of Grand Rapids. I think I threw all 3 of these interceptions for Jamerson Harris this season. He also rushed for 9 touchdowns. And look at Kyle Toon, 1,200 rushing yards. We have not seen rushing stats like that throughout this entire rebuild. Doug Isaac was the clear #1 target. But that all comes back to Dante Lobato being injured for most of the year, and now we finally have him back. It'd be a disgrace if we didn't make a run all the way to the championship, but we'll see who we play in the next round. And I can't say I'm surprised it's Ohio State instead of Georgia Tech. There's no surprises with this bracket. That's actually going to be our opponent in the quarterfinals. And they might have gone 10-3, but they're still a pretty solid team. We'll see how we we do in this game. I know that Michigan's on the other side of the bracket, so there's a chance that if we make it all the way to the championship, we play them. And I can't pass up that opportunity to beat them for a title. That'd be sweet. We're about to go up 14-0. The ball was knocked loose, though. I probably should have gotten it out a little bit quicker, but guess what we can do with Harris? We can taunt them the whole way in. Now, that was not the smartest thing I've ever done. It woke up their offense. They scored like 14 points instantly. But look at this, rolling out, tight end attack, down to the 1. That was my favorite play in like Madden 21. Now I've found it in one of these college playbooks. And Ohio State is going to do play action on 3rd and 18. Did they really just test my user? What are you thinking? We're going to take down the Buckeyes. We can't blow it from here. Grand Rapids is ready to move on to the semifinals. We played very well. And I'm confused how Doug Isaac had 1 catch but 2 touchdowns. What? Okay, apparently both of those were on the ground. Neither of his touchdowns were even receiving. And those must have been the 2 that got simmed. We've gotten UCF, the number 3 team, as the next opponent. I don't know if this is wrong of me to say though, but I am sad that Michigan lost to Maryland 28-7. How did the number 1 team go out like that? I was hoping just for the storyline we could play against one of our in-state rivals in the championship. We average 40 points per game. Instead though, I feel like we've been gifted a pretty easy path. Maybe Maryland's gonna be good. And even the Knights could be giving us issues. I mean, we've only scored 7 points until this play right here. It was about time Jamerson Harris started to make a difference. He just shot him in their face. That's pretty disrespectful right there, but I think we can be confident because they literally have not moved the ball. I've never seen anything like it. It's now 4th and 6, and we can't knock it loose. I think their biggest issue is they literally stay in hurry-up mode, so everybody's tired. They've thrown us an interception, and get out of the way! We could have ended the game right there. I mean, we probably can still end it on this drive. A little bit of a playmaker over to Toon. Kyle Toon, touchdown. I noticed something on that last play, though, and it makes me want to score at least 1 more. What we need is we need to burn them deep so we can control where we run once we get into the end zone. I think we've done that right here. It made me stop. I wanted to hurdle into that bin. I don't know what drew my brain to that right there, but it reminded me of like the Salvation Army bin that players will hop into in the NFL and then get fined. I'm not sure why that caught my attention, but the game was so boring I needed something else to be excited about. I mean, I think we're about to just walk our way into a championship, and it looks like it is going to be against the Terrapins. This should have been Michigan. It should have been a legendary game, but instead, this is what we got. And they average 35 points per game themselves, so it's not like they're necessarily bad. I also want to point out how good our defense has been. It's the best in the country besides Boise State. They're the only team that's given up fewer points. And I'm not sure why I'm even looking at the penalty stats, but apparently Maryland's had the most penalties in the country. That can't be good news for them in this game. I'm hoping we can beat them. But I have to give them their props. They've put up a very good fight. At the moment, we only have a 4-point lead. Since we're only in the 3rd quarter, there is still plenty of game left as well. They have a lot of chances to probably take us down. But I do think we're going to be okay. I like seeing that type of coverage because we're going to have fun. We really just have to get another defensive stop and then score another touchdown, and I think there's no way that they come back. So that's literally the plan, and I don't plan on making a read right here. I just want to throw it up. We haven't done it in a while. That probably would not have ended too well. They're about to get a sack. And then they scored a touchdown, so it's back to being a 1-possession game going into the 4th quarter, though we're getting a first. That's actually one of the few times they've not had a quarterback spy out there. That is probably the biggest downside of having a fast quarterback. They always seem like they're prepared to stop the run. I can just tell that this coverage should not be working for them though, and it's about to unless we catch it. They are pressing one of the best and fastest receivers in the country. I'm not sure how that's working for them. They pick up the 3rd and 7. And I'm not sure why we can't just seal our win over them. We've been burnt. They couldn't catch it. You know, I think we've gotten pretty lucky with that play right there. They should have had a touchdown. We had enough time to get this off, but there's just no time for fun against Maryland. We have to actually take this seriously or else we might lose the championship. Kyle Toon getting out of there. I still feel like we've got to burn them deep on at least one of these plays. There it is. There's no way he was keeping up. Maryland's also had some of the worst clock management I think I've ever seen. They can't catch it on 4th down. And we are going to win the national championship with Grand Rapids in college football 25. It was a lot of fun to play with them again. Revive the series. Bring them back for one video. Andrew Luck gets the championship. And comparing this to the NCAA Football 14 series, it took us just as long to be able to win a championship. Now, I think one of the things that made that series so special was I played on the hardest sliders. I played every single game, unlike this rebuild. I mean, it was just on base Heisman with default sliders. And after how enjoyable this video was, the itch has been scratched to bring back a team builder series eventually in the future. I'm not sure exactly when that's going to be though. I want to make sure that I do it right, unlike Southern Kentucky. That one only went for like 4 episodes.